From humble beginnings in Sutton, Nebraska, Madeleine Leininger went on to develop the theory of transcultural nursing and is recognized worldwide as the Margaret Mead of nursing. One of her nieces asked her one time what the difference was between Margaret Mead and herself, and she said, well, she got better press. She holds multiple degrees in education, nursing, anthropology, human science, and philosophy, but her first degree was a diploma from St. Anthony's School of Nursing. She's written and edited 27 books, founded the Journal of Transcultural Nursing, and is the founder of the American Nurses Association. She's been awarded a National League of Nursing Fellowship for fieldwork in the Eastern Highlands of New Guinea, where she studied the convergence and divergence of human behavior in two Gadsup villages. Other awards include the prestigious President's Award for Excellence in Teaching, the Board of Governors Distinguished Faculty Award, and the Gershenson's Research Fellowship Award for Qualitative Research Methods in Nursing. She was presented with the Women in Science Award from California State University, in addition to many other honors and awards she's received throughout her career. She's also been honored as a living legend by the American Academy of Nursing and was named as a Distinguished Fellow by the Royal College of Nursing in Australia. I will apologize, this next segment is a little bit long. If you'd like to skip over it, you can, but Madeleine Leininger is no longer with us, and I just thought it would be fun to hear in her own voice her history, how she decided to land on the theory and philosophy which she's now famous for.
I was raised on a farm in Nebraska. The town was Harvard, Nebraska. The contrast with Harvard of the East. And we were a family of 5 in our family. My father was an agronomist, as you would say, and mother was a good housekeeper, also a singer. We lived on the farm until the Depression time, and when the Depression time came, Dad lost the farm. We still stayed on the farm and managed to get along, but it was very tough going.
We didn't know we were poor at the time. We did, in a sense, I'm sure that our parents did. But we just kind of accepted it as part of growing up, and yes, we had good times, and we had a very close, there were no outside influences in terms of television, telephones, or anything. We were strictly isolated, not even radio.
I think we've always been a very close family. My mother was Irish, and she was a great singer. And she was very, very influential in the community. Everybody loved her. And Dad was really from the German culture, hardworking, day and night. I inherited an awful lot of my dad's features of hardworking, but I really did inherit a lot with my mother, because she loved fun and music, and so did my grandparents. And so music and fun and laughter and hospitality was very important.
She had a great facility with storytelling. She could, out of reality of her experiences of the day, like going to catechism or something, she could come back with the wildest hyperbole that would put us in stitches. When she went to high school, I think then she got into, really pursuing and excelling, in her work. And from thereafter, it was history.
Now, this community was a mixed community of many different cultures, and we knew there were many different cultural groups there. And we were taught by our parents to interact with them, to visit with them, to welcome them in the home, or to spend time with them. I think the concept of sharing, as I would say, as caring, was very important, because we were taught that whatever resources we had, or whatever we had, we needed to always be conscious and aware of others and to give. What influenced me most to go into nursing was really began with the dear aunt I had.
Margaret was a lovely lady, and she felt very strongly about the help that she got by the nurses. And I think that she probably inspired Madeleine to look at the nursing profession.
Every time that she went into the hospital, she'd come back and she'd often say to me, "Oh, Madeleine, if I could if I had the chance to live on, I would become a nurse. And I always say, well, Margaret, why? Well, she said, that's the most wonderful thing, to care for other people and to care for people when they're sick. And I decided then when I wanted to go in nursing, and I said, come on to my sister, let's go. And we did. We went into Denver, Colorado, and finished the baccalaureate degree there in the science. And then after that, we also decided I wanted to go on to get a regular academic degree too. And that's when I went to Mount St. Scholastica College. College was expensive even in those days. And so my sister and I worked at a Navy ammunition depot. And we worked in this ammunition depot, and I was one of the first woman supervisors to hammer those rockets closed and then go out on the test field to see how they worked. And it was kind of a risky thing, but the pay was good, and that money was what helped us to go on to school. We learned about what was called to take a teacher normal training program. Now, this normal training program in the rural area was you would go into a program, learn the basics of teaching, and then you would go into the country school. Now, my mother was a good and well-known teacher, and then all of my sisters also then went into teaching country school. And Frances taught my sister in a country school, I taught in a country school, all 8 grades, started the FARs in the morning and closed the school, was active, and then in the evening we were also expected to be sort of like a recreational person in the community. And so I would go and play, chord for bands, play music, and be with families in the community and have community programs. Well, after I finished my master's degree, or the process of finishing it, I specialized in child psychiatric nursing. Now, this was a new venture, to have a child special. I had been into a course. I was a psychiatric nurse and wrote one of the first early books in psychiatric nursing. And that's when I soon discovered that what was missing was culture. And then I found none of the health staff had any preparation in this area. And that's when I went to the director of the Psychoanalytic Institute and said, there's something terribly missing in this institution. There's no way you can be therapeutic or help these unless we begin to understand these people of diverse cultures. And they said, what do you mean? And I said, we've always treated them that way. Now, what are you trying to do? I said, they're different. I can't treat them all alike. They're different. And they're telling me they're different, and they want different kinds of care. And so that was the time that I recommended to the director that it might be wise for him to invite Dr. Margaret Mead to come down. She was a genius, a very bright, a very articulate woman. And she was really publicly known for her ability to communicate culture to the wider world. And so she said in the language of the medical group, okay, what is your first case? So this poor old resident started out a bit intimidated, but he led forth about it. And sure, pretty soon she banged on the table and she said, on what basis are you making that diagnosis? What do you know about that patient? What do you know about their cultural background? What do you know what that means? And she just really went into them. And he was just blank, and none of the other medical students or nobody could answer her. So she really got the point across. And then after that, I met with her, and I said, you know, that was profound, Dr. Mead. You did a wonderful job. And now I'm just thinking, wouldn't it be wonderful with nearly 2 million nurses in the world and more, if these nurses were prepared in knowing culture and with our interest in care, couldn't we do a lot? Well, she said, I don't know. That's up to you. What are you going to do about it? That's how she was. I said, I don't know. And then that's when I decided I had nothing in anthropology. I had nothing to learn about different cultures. I had a dab of sociology, but that wasn't it. So that's when I went on and went into the field of anthropology and became the first professional nurse anthropologist with a PhD. You couldn't just jump into a doctoral program. You really had to know the knowledge at the baccalaureate level, at the master's level, if you were thinking of a doctorate. So I had to go back and study and take courses in that area, which was all right with me because I got well grounded to know the field, the discipline. And then pretty soon came the time, and before anyone ever gets very far, you have to do field studies. Go. And my dear mother started praying, and my dad, very nervous. They said, "Why are you going there?" And I said, "Because I wanted a different experience than the United States. I needed to study a non-Western, a culture that was sort of pure, yet I could learn from the beginning." So anyway, I took and went over there. I fortunately got an NLN scholarship to go there that took me over on the ship, and it took a long time. I arrived in the edge of the village, and pretty soon I was greeted by a large number of men, because men are the protectors of the village. And so they wondered, who in the world is this woman? And where is her husband? Where is her spouse? And I had to quick clarify, and then I found the language had not been recorded, and all I had was pidgin English to use, which we learned. That's a lingua franca. So I said in pidgin English, "Fashion belong me Leininger. Emmy no sabi just pella talk true. That's their talk." So Emmy come to stay 1 pella, 2 pella, 3 pella moon. That means quite a while. Now, suppose it means have place, Emmy stop. That means you stay a while. I said, "Where am I going to stay?" And so they said, "There is a hut here, but it's an old hut, and we want you to know there have been snakes in that hut." So I unrolled the sleeping bag, and I was so tired because I'd walked along. All you do is walk. And I went into the sleeping hut. The next morning, I woke up, and the lath of the little hut, the lights came through. And I looked up, and on the top of this little ridge, that they had sort of a little like a tree limb on the top, was a huge, big snake, a python. I thought, how am I going to get this snake out of this hut? And it's huge. So I waited and said a few prayers and waited, and pretty soon they came back with their bows and arrows. "Emmy fellow, Emmy no good for you. You don't keep them in your house. You keep them out of your house. No good." And then I said in pidgin, "You talk true. Me no like this fella." I had to adjust to a very different environment. No technology, no running water, no lights, nothing like that, and strange foods. I had to boil all the water before I could drink it, and I had to take the bugs out. I had to take the leaves out. They had some wild fruit, and I liked those. And every day when I went walking, I'd find greens, and they'd teach me different things. I came back, and I was just really said, we've got to do something in terms of healthcare systems. We've got to do something in terms of nursing and all disciplines to bring culture into the healthcare system. So I came back with a lot of enthusiasm, but a lot of really doubt how this could ever happen.
If you remember, she started this about 4 or 5 decades ago, at which time we were very provincial in the United States.
I took the deanship position of a major university, thinking perhaps my leadership and authority might help, and it did. I took that at the University of Washington, and that's when I, as dean, tried to promote and began to establish transcultural courses. Now, this was not well accepted. They said, why in the health field? All we need to do is just take care of the physical needs of people and what the medical doctors tell you to do. And of course, I didn't believe in that. My philosophy in nursing is a caring science. It's not a medical. Medicine and nursing are two different disciplines. And so I was trying to show that it is caring that is missing in the health and the well-being, and that led to my theory. But also it led to the development of what I called and labeled the field transcultural nursing.
Blend the disciplines of anthropology and nursing.
The physical needs is not the human being. It's a totality. They're religious, they're a kinship group, they're a social group. They have values, they have beliefs. All of that's got to be in. And so then we developed the whole thing on doing cultural assessments and how you study cultures and how you begin to institute a different kind of health care.
Transcultural nursing asserts that our goal within nursing is to provide care that recognizes and respects cultural values, beliefs, and practices. This knowledge plays a critical role for nurse practitioners in knowing how to deal with the patient. It helps the provider be aware of ways in which the patient's culture and faith provide resources for their experiences with illness, suffering, and even death. It recognizes that diversity extends beyond race, gender, sexual orientation, and ability to meet the needs of the individual within the greater context of their cultural underpinnings. It strengthens a commitment to the nurse practitioner-patient relationship and emphasizes the whole person rather than viewing the patient as simply a set of symptoms or an illness. Using cultural knowledge to treat a patient also helps practitioners be open-minded to treatments that are considered non-traditional, things such as spiritually based therapies, meditation, yoga, herbal remedies, chanting, and anointing, to name a few. These precepts are the guiding principles Ms. Leininger learned first in the Children's Guidance Home, throughout her career, and within her work with the Gadsup people in Papua New Guinea. The primary concepts within the transcultural theory can be described as this. Person is culture dependent, especially in non-Western countries where person may refer collectively to family, communities, institutions which are often valued more than individual entities. Knowing that each culture differentiates the meaning of person makes it more complicated as well as important to develop a deeper understanding of that culture. Health. Health has been viewed in different ways by varying cultures. Some cultures see health as a snapshot in time, while others view health on a continuum. Still others view certain states of illness as a gift or a miracle, such as the Hmong people of Southeast Asia. They often view those with seizures as having evidenced that they can see things that others cannot, and that they can more easily enter trances in order to journey to the spirit world. Environment. Environment is important as well. Cultural views of the hospital setting vary greatly, within many finding the sterility unconducive to health and healing. It's important to meet the individual in their comfort zone and on their territory. These basic tenets of this philosophical view are still relevant today, in that the world has become a smaller and more easily accessible place to navigate. With greater access to travel, information, and higher expectations of the healthcare community, we need to hold on to these foundational expectations related to healthcare delivery. Additionally, we have new considerations within our own country and the culture of homelessness. Here are a few of the most recent facts about homelessness in America. As of the year 2017, over 500,000 people are homeless. On any given night, there are over 600,000 homeless people in the United States. Most people are spending the night either in homeless shelters or in some sort of short-term transitional housing. Slightly more than a third are living in cars or under bridges or in some other way living unsheltered. A full 1/4 of homeless people are children. On any given night, over 138,000 of the homeless in the United States are children under the age of 18. Thousands of homeless children are unaccompanied. If we include those living in cars, parks, bus or train stations, or awaiting foster care placement, the National Center for Homeless Education tells us that over 1 million homeless children reportedly attend our public schools daily. Tens of thousands of our veterans are homeless. Over 57,000 veterans are homeless each night. 60% of them are in shelters, the rest unsheltered. Nearly 5,000 are females. Domestic violence is a leading cause of homelessness among women. According to the National Law Center on Homelessness and Poverty, more than 90% of homeless women are victims of severe physical or sexual abuse, and escaping that abuse is the leading cause of their homelessness. Many people are homeless because they can't afford rent. The lack of affordable housing is a primary cause of homelessness. In recent decades, the Department of Housing and Urban Development has seen its budget severely slashed, resulting in the loss of 10,000 units of subsidized low-income housing each year. There are fewer places for poor people to rent than ever before. 1/8 of the nation's supply of low-income housing has been steadily and permanently lost since the year 2001. The U.S. needs at least 7 million more affordable apartments for low-income families. As a result, millions of families spend more than half of their monthly income on rent. Over 5 million homes have been foreclosed on since 2008. That's 1 out of every 10 homes with a mortgage. This has caused even more people to search for affordable rental properties. The government does not help as much as you may think. There's enough public rental assistance to help about 1 out of every 4 extremely low-income households. Those who do not receive help are on multi-year waiting lists. For example, in Charlotte, North Carolina, they just opened up their applications for public housing assistance for the first time in 14 years. They had over 10,000 applicants. 1 in 5 homeless people suffers from untreated severe mental illness, while about 6% of the general population suffers from severe mental illness. 20 to 25% of the homeless suffer from severe mental illness, according to government studies. Half of this population self-medicates and then are at further risk for addiction and poor physical health. A University of Pennsylvania study tracking nearly 5,000 homeless people for 2 years discovered that investing in comprehensive health, support, and treatment of physical and mental illnesses is less costly than incarceration, shelter, and hospital services for the untreated homeless. Cities are increasingly making homelessness a crime. A survey of 187 cities found that 24% of our nation's cities make it a citywide crime to beg in public, 33% make it illegal to stand around or loiter any place in the city, 18% make it a crime to sleep anywhere in public, and 43% make it illegal to sleep in your car. Additionally, 53% make it illegal to sit or lie down in a particular public place. And the number of cities criminalizing homelessness is steadily increasing. Homelessness as a culture is the new normal. It's a picture viewed so often in our country that we no longer are shocked and troubled by these images. Some biblical perspective can be gained. In the Bible, Proverbs 12:21 tells us that he who despises his neighbor sins, but happy is he who is gracious to the poor. Isaiah 58:10 and 11 tell us, feed the hungry, help those in trouble. Then your light will shine out from under the darkness, and the darkness around you shall be as bright as day. And the Lord will guide you continually and satisfy you with all good things and keep you healthy too. And you will be like a well-watered garden, like an ever-flowing spring. When the crowds asked John the Baptist, what should we do about those in need? He replied, whoever has 2 coats must share with anyone who has none, and whoever has food must do likewise. The framework of the transcultural nursing theory recognizes the individual within the context of their own culture, advises and shapes our delivery of healthcare to meet the needs of homeless where they can be reached, feel understood, and know the love of Christ in a way that is not typical for this population. In many ways, healthcare has come a long way to meet the needs of more people and in more places than ever before. However, as always in an ever-changing world, we have new challenges. Using theories and philosophical frameworks, we can continue to adapt and provide quality care, promote the health and well-being of all human beings, including those that look quite different from us on the outside. We merely need to begin by recognizing that we all look like children of God on the inside. The transcultural theory, designed by Madeleine Leininger, is valuable to those in advanced practice nursing because it enriches the scholarship of nursing, serves as a framework that meets the needs of all human beings in a respectful and meaningful way, and allows for the profession to create and expand its own body of knowledge.